And we are back. The Rory Sauter Show coming to you live from Palm Springs, California. I want to welcome, I believe he's with us right now. We have talk show host, we have activist, we have writer, Michael Vasquez. Michael, how are you?
I'm doing well. How are you doing today?
I'm doing good, man. What's the latest? What's the 411? What's on your mind? Crazy times.
It is. You've had a very good show today. You had some great people on.
Yeah, I'm sorry, man. Scheduling's been all over the place. I'm trying to do the best I can here, but it's crazy.
I get how it happens. And, Mike Caputo, he was a great conversation. I liked listening to Josh. He had some great things to say as well. But there's so much going on right now. People are amazed. I mean, we've got 100,000 Ukrainians have now been authorized to come into the United States as refugees, which is really interesting because this is the spin on this coming from the Biden-Harris administration is, we're trying to protect our southern border. We have 5,000 Ukrainians in the last month that are at our border, so we've got to do something to help them to reduce the number of people coming to our border. That's stupid. We have, at this moment, about 14,000 children by themselves sent on a 1,000-mile trek with a bunch of sex slavers and a bunch of drug dealers that entered our border just in the month of March. We've had 79,000 kids that have come into America by themselves. It's called child abuse. We're talking about numbers that are about 5 times as high as in 2019.
Yeah.
And we had numbers similar to that in 2021. Matter of fact, we're actually higher right now than where we were in 2021 at the same time. This is child abuse and it's going on. But the spin is, well, we're helping Ukrainians. No, we've got a wide open door. We sent our border patrol over to Poland, which is unnecessary. They didn't ask for that. And people are just running across our nation. And you've heard a couple of people today who are on the show talking about that in Arizona, how that's affecting everyone. It's really a big deal. And that's just one of the things that are happening. We just heard from Puerto Rico. They're talking about the fact that Democrats are promising the people of Puerto Rico that they're going to get Social Security payments. Now, here's a surprise. Puerto Ricans are United States citizens. Puerto Rico itself is a territory. It has a very unique relationship with the United States, and it doesn't want to be a state. It doesn't want to be independent. It wants to stay exactly as it is. That has been the vote going back to the 1970s. They want to stay a territory, but they're citizens. Now, here's the thing. Democrats are saying, we're going to give you Social Security insurance. Well, if you live on the island of Puerto Rico, you don't pay income tax. So here's the problem.
That's why so many business moguls and investors and people are moving there, because it's the tax shelter. Yeah,
it is a tax shelter. It's a legal inside the United States tax shelter to an extent. And if you're living on Puerto Rican, you don't pay income tax. Okay. Well, here's the thing. How do we pay for Social Security? Out of our taxes.
Exactly.
So the answer should be, and I am Puerto Rican, okay? I got family over in Puerto Rico right now. And I'll tell you what I've told them. You're not paying income tax, so you shouldn't get Social Security. That doesn't mean that we're not helping the elderly who have retired, people who are disabled or who are blind. We do. There are programs for that. But if you're not paying into the taxes, why are you going to be paid out of the taxes? But Democrats are trying to buy votes. And they're promising, we're going to give you more money. We don't have money. We're almost $31 trillion in debt. But, they want to spin this like this is supposed to be a great thing. No, it's called buying votes. Because isn't that what they're doing? They're promising people money if they get elected, and that's the consequence. And so we have to say, well, wait a minute, but it's not fair. It's like when early in the show today, people were talking about the college debt being waived. Wait a minute. Why is that something that I should do? It's not my responsibility. Are you going to buy me Is someone going to pay off my mortgage for my house? You're going to buy me a car? You're going to go out and pay for my bills or buy my groceries? Everyone's going to say, no, of course not. That's your responsibility. You're an adult. Go and pay for your own stuff. Well, you're right. So why am I paying for someone else's college? It's not my responsibility. I actually did a study on this just a couple of days ago. And it's funny because if you look at the top 11 jobs in America, actually the top 20 jobs in America by the number of people in America that work those jobs, there's only 2 of them that actually require a bachelor's degree. That's it. In the top 10, number 10 is a nurse. That's the first job that actually needs a bachelor's degree. And you don't need anything more than that. These kids are going into $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 worth of debt, and they're saying, well, you should pay it off. Why? The number 1 job in America is a sales representative. Number 1 job. 3.4 million people do that. Doesn't require a single degree. You know what? Go and be a plumber, be an electrician. You can go and be a welder, because we need those jobs for infrastructure. In fact, you could get a job getting paid $60,000 a year to take care of wind turbines. You don't need more than a high school diploma to do that. If you believe in green energy and you want to have green energy jobs, you don't have to go to college, not for a day. You go and work on one of the wind turbines, and there you're going to make the money. So why should I pay off that debt? It doesn't make any sense. But then all of this is going on, and no one's being talked about with Puerto Rico. No one's talking about the fact that, did you know there are 79 children between the United Kingdom, Scotland, and the United States, with 9 of them in Alabama, and they all have a liver disease. It's similar to hepatitis. Do you know that that's happening? And it's been fun. They've been finding it over the last couple of months, about 2 months now. It's so unique, and it's happening so often that the CDC and in England, the NHS, now have an advisory out, and they're trying to track this down because kids are getting this. They have no idea where it's coming from. But the one suggestion they made is, well, it might be related to the pandemic, but not the way you think. It's because the kids aren't around other kids in school where they would normally get colds and build up their immunities. Now, people may have other suggestions on certain supplements that have been mandated by certain governments that could be affecting these kids as well, because they're all about 10 years of age and older. Gee, what have we seen mandated in like New York State and many other very blue states across this nation? What thing could we add to children that may mess up their hormones, mess up their life? All these drugs and these items that they are adding to these kids. So I'm not surprised. But you know what? That story is buried. No one wants to talk about that. It's amazing to me. You know what else is going on this week? Of course, everyone's talking about CNN Plus is closing down after 30 days. You know why? Because no one trusts them. No one believes in them. And why should they? Look at what they have done. Look at what they have lied to us about. Rachel Maddow, earlier tonight, someone was mentioning, what were we told for 3 years in a row? Adam Schiff came on, Rachel Maddow, MSNBC, every day for 3 years telling us Russia collusion. You know what? We turn around, not true. We have the laptop. Took some of them 2 years to tell us not true. We've had case after case after case, story after story. It's not true. And not only that, but we're seeing people like in CNN where there are people who are abusing children. And these are the people we're supposed to trust. These are the people we're supposed to believe in.
Yeah.
How couldn't CNN Plus fall apart? I mean, now we got Piers Morgan going out there, and it's really funny. He goes out, he does this video, which is a teaser trailer for his show.
Yeah.
And he lies to the public just like they were doing with Adam Schiff and Rachel Maddow. He puts this false image out of context up there for the public so that the left can promote this everywhere they possibly can. It's completely fake. It's not real. It's a lie. President Trump comes out and says, hey, here's the actual audio. You're lying to the public. Meanwhile, every time Project Veritas comes out with a video quoting these politicians, the news media, speaking privately and saying, oh, yeah, they hate the American people. They are manipulating the American people, that they are trying to shift the election. They are saying this. This is on quote. This is video of them saying this directly to people because they thought they were safe. And that gets denounced as being, oh, my God, it's being manipulated. You have a video that's been edited and they're promoting it, but you show the truth and they're suddenly going, oh, my God, how dare you tell people this? We've got to wake up here in America. We've got to see some of these things. And I mean, I'm just running through things, and it's been a crazy week because I have, did you know, in New York State, this weekend, 23rd, 24th, did you know there's a protest that's going on?
No.
It's called the People's Convoy. And you know what? It's been planned for about 2 months now.
And the media doesn't talk about it.
Media is not talking about it. I've been talking about it. I'm actually going there this weekend. I will be in Albany with a couple hundred people that I know of for sure that have already confirmed. There's hundreds of people who are going to Albany to let the lawmakers know that according to the Constitution, they are the power of New York State and our government, not the lawmakers, that we are not beholden to them. It's a peaceful protest. None of the news media want to cover this. No one wants to talk about it. They don't even want to be there. Larry Sharp's going to be at the event. Andrew Giuliani's going to be at the event. They have several other speakers. Larry Sharp's running for governor. Why in the world a candidate who's actually, I think Larry's just about 10% in recent polling, running for governor of New York, and the news media doesn't want to cover this? When have we ever seen that before? It's manipulation, and it's really insulting. On May 3rd, I'm going to be having a protest at SUNY Broome in Binghamton, New York. Why? Because they're teaching CRT, critical race theory. It's a program that I have already shown is all about teaching our kids racism and division. And every single news media outlet I have reached in the local central New York region, who all know me by name, know me by sight. I've been working beside them for a decade, many of these individuals, and not one of them are willing to actually do an interview or cover the event or to tell the public that this protest is going to happen because they're afraid of letting the left hear about CRT. Meanwhile, just 3 days ago, there were 30 members of PLOT, Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, a far left activist group. They're about a shade under Antifa, attacked police officers in Johnson City, New York. And let me guess why. Make a big guess why, Rory.
Tell me.
Because the fire department came to a building that was a fire hazard to try and check if the electric system was up to code, because they had reports and they had checked it before and it was faulty and it was endangering the lives of the 8 people in that building. One of the people that they were going to investigate was a member of Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, took offense, called up the rest of the Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow, or PLOT. They came in with a crew of 30 and attacked them because the fire department said the house is unsafe. You have to be out. You have to get out of here because it's a death trap. And they attacked. You know what the news media did? They waited 4 days, put it in a minor article, and walked away from it, and they won't talk about it.
Everything going on right now is crazy. And you talked about the border earlier and all these different diseases that are arising that people aren't even talking about. I mean, look at the timing. I mean, people got so sick off of COVID. I think they're purposely allowing these diseases to come in the country. And don't forget that illegals and refugees that come in here, the Democrats will use those as votes. I mean,
they can't stop. They can't stop this, Rory. They can't stop it. The border is wide open. You can't stop
But it's election season. I believe this is all happening on timing. I believe this is all orchestrated. They want to get people sick again. They want to lock down. They want to do mail-in voting, and they want illegals to be voting for them.
They definitely want illegals to be voting for them. That's why New York City said 800,000 non-citizens can vote in our elections. And guess what? They use the same ballot that I, as a United States citizen, use. How are you going to know who's who? And in terms of the pandemic, we know that this is going to continue for another 3 years. You know how we know that? We paid Germany over $130 million to make pandemic tests. So unless the Democrats want to be called out for wasting money building a factory in Germany for Germany workers, helping their unemployment rate with our tax dollars, so then we can then buy the products from Germany to test people here in America. That doesn't make any sense whatsoever, but that's what the Biden administration did. And that means that we're going to be going through this. Don't believe there is no going back to normal. We have 3 more years of this idiocy going on and off, on and off. So, yeah. And then you add to that the fact that people are walking across the border. A year and a half ago, did a study and was checking it out. Do you know that in Venezuela, because this communists took over Venezuela, and the health of the public went down so much that measles, mumps, and what's the other one? It's the 3. Measles and mumps increased by 10,000 fold and has now swept through South America and is being carried by many of the illegal immigrants coming into the United States. That's a fact. You know where you get that number from? The CDC itself. This is terrifying when we see this. And what we're seeing is a decay that is both moral and physical and political, all happening at the same time. And I have to agree with your the last interviewer, and I forget. I'm sorry, I had his name in my mind. Claire, that's it. And Claire, what he said, he's right. We're seeing politicians who don't have the balls to stand up and say, hey, this is a problem. We need to fix this. And if we don't fix this, if people don't elect in good people who are effective and efficient, we are going to see our country collapse because we are already in that process. Biden has set us up. I mean, look at the inflation. Remember, what was it? 2 months ago, I was on with you, and I told you that I expected inflation to hit 15%.
Yeah.
What's it at now? 11?
Yeah, roughly.
And I told you this 2 months ago.
And it's going to get worse. Everybody knows it's going to get worse. This is just the beginning. People think that we're going to have a rebound. No way. This is just just like batting practice. It's about to get very devastating.
Yeah, but Rory, here's the thing. You and I had that conversation. I showed you the data. I told you what I was thinking about it here on this program. And I said, I think it's going to hit 15%. I am not an economist. I'm a former stockbroker. I'd say better than average intelligence. I pay attention to details. You and I could understand exactly why it was going to go to at least 15%. No one in news media wanted to say anything until last month, the last 2 weeks of last month. And finally, they're saying, well, maybe kind of, it'll be temporary. We've all seen this. It's on the writings on the wall. The only reason why they are doing these things, these are all things that we are saying that are predictable, obvious, and documented. And the only reason why they're hiding this from the public is because they're afraid people are going to say, I don't want to vote for someone who supports this kind of destruction because it's not good for my life. It's not good for my kids. And that's the exact reason why we have to do protests like we're going to do this weekend in Albany, why we have to do protests at the colleges and say, no, don't teach my kids to be racist, why we have to go up and say, hey, I'm not going to reelect you for the 15th time in a row for the 4th or 5th decade in a row and get someone who's actually effective in there.
Right.
I mean, does that make sense?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Michael, stay with us. We're going to come right back. Stay with us.
Sure.
We'll be right back, everybody. And we are back with Michael Vasquez. Michael, so I'll tell you, what is it going to take? What is it going to take? You know, these midterms coming up, we have a lot on the line here. What do you anticipate, you know, the outcome being?
You're going to see the House flip by about 23, maybe 26 seats in favor of the Republicans. So that's part of the landslide that's expected. Might be even a little bit more. We could get as many as 31, but the safe bet is about 23 to 26. Looking at the Senate, I think we're looking at a 52, 52-48, which is going to be 52 Republicans versus 48 Democrats. It's actually 46 and 2 independents, but that's all the even split there. It could be even, though. I mean, the Senate is where we're seeing Democrats focus on. The big thing that people need to do, though, is to remember, like in LA, right now, there was an article today. There are 3 members of the city council of LA. They're under pressure from the far left because they want to defund the police. This is what the race is in LA for the city council, to defund the police. This is after watching 22 cities try that experiment in 2020 and 2021, and we've seen that crime has skyrocketed. And now they're saying, no, we have to still do even more. The experiment failed. Why are we doing this? Now we have Biden saying, oh, well, I'm going to protect everyone with ghost gun executive orders. What about the 32 executive orders under Obama? That didn't work. What about the New York SAFE Act? That didn't work. Magazines didn't work. What about red flag laws that are in 19 states and have been since 1999? It doesn't work. Ghost guns over the last decade, there have been less than 1,300 ghost guns captured by the FBI. It's so obvious and true that if you go right now to the White House article from April 14th to read about Biden talking about ghost guns, and I think it's the 3rd paragraph, there's a citation saying they suspect there were 20,000 ghost guns, which isn't true, and the FBI knows it. The actual link from the White House to their source to prove that there's a 20,000 ghost guns doesn't work. It's a non-functioning link. They removed the link because the data is wrong and it is factually wrong. And so this is part of that deception. We can't listen to these sound bites without stopping to say, hey, wait a minute. You made the same exact promise about gun control every year for the last 4 decades, and I'm not safer. That is a fact. Don't lie to me anymore. Defunding the police, we've seen it for 18 months now. It doesn't work. Let's not do that. Let's not use critical race theory. How many of these crimes that are going on are coming from groups like BLM, Antifa, Progressive Leaders of Tomorrow? How many of them are individuals like the guy in Waukesha, Wisconsin, who during Christmas drove into a Christmas parade specifically targeting white people? Remember that story, America? I know it's not being talked about anymore, but he did that because critical race theory.
Yep.
He was taught that white people are evil, so he decided to try and run them over. We need to stop this, and we have to vote to say, no, don't let this happen. That's why Florida is being demonized right now. DeSantis is being demonized right now because he said there's absolutely no reason why a 5-year-old needs to be taught to hate people based on the color of their skin, which we used to call racism. And there's no reason that we should be having in-depth, intimate sexual conversations with these children at 5 years of age. Let's stop this. I mean, am I making sense?
Absolutely. No, very well said. And I always love your input and your insight, and you always give the best interviews. And, you're just a tremendous guest. But stay with us. But tell everybody where they can find you, where they can get involved, all that good stuff.
Absolutely. They can go to No Soundbites Allowed. That's, as you can see above me, it's with an I. No Soundbites Allowed. I'm on pretty much all social media except Discord because they banned me without any reason, and I'm not going to use them again. But otherwise, everywhere else I should be.
Sounds good, my friend. Well, stay with us. I do want to go to